Peeping at pornographic literature. I accidentally rented the same account as my professor ex-boyfriend. During the day, he reads academic papers. At night, I read Ultimate Academic Insult H. A week later, he couldn't bear it anymore. Don't you have anything else to do? I was stubborn. What's wrong with me looking at textbooks? My new boyfriend is not like you. You are frigid. But he is extremely difficult to coax. That night, Hank, who was doing scientific research outside, took the high-speed rail and rushed back overnight. With red eyes, he pressed me against the entrance, bit my lip, and asked tremulously, "Where is that wild man? How did he insult you?" Hank and I broke up again. This is our 4th breakup this month. The reason is simple. Our schedules don't match. I am a pure college girl. He is a college professor. I go to bed at 5 and get up at 7. As long as I am not sitting in the ICU drinking millet porridge, I can keep staying up. But as an old office worker, his schedule is more regular than the owl clock in the living room. Every night at 12 o'clock, he will stand coldly at the door of my bedroom and say coldly, "Turn off the light." At first, I still tried to discuss with him. I just play games and do live broadcasts at midnight. This is my job and it doesn't affect you. He had no expression and asked, "What kind of proper job has to be done at midnight?" Across the age gap. It's really hard to communicate. I simply ignored him, pretended to be deaf and continued with my live broadcast. As a result, in the next second, Hank silently appeared in the live broadcast camera wearing silver gray pajamas. He is very tall, 1.87 meters, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. He has an elegant and cold aura. There is not a single trace of extra emotion on his face. Very intellectual and very abstinent. The barrage was full of screams. He said calmly, "Hello everyone. I am Joey's boyfriend. We are gathered here tonight not to rot and stink, but to supervise Joey's work." Damn. Then I quickly and flusteredly turned off the computer. What a disaster. You are really something, Hank. In this round, I was completely defeated. As for why I live with Hank, a professor, this goes back to half a year ago. Last year when I went home for the spring festival, my mom urged me to go on a blind date. I was shocked. "I'm only a senior. Why are you in such a hurry?" My mom glared at me. "If you don't hurry up, all the good men will be picked by others. Don't you know that good men don't circulate? Besides, this blind date is a young professor at a university. Didn't you just get admitted to graduate school? Don't you want to find a handsome guy to date first in your boring academic life?" I don't want to. But to complete my mom's task, I still went to meet Hank. Well, I went wearing hanfu, with full makeup, and ostentatiously went there with 3 buns on my head. Since he is a professor, he must not like flashy girls. Moreover, this pile of my clothes obviously looks expensive. Men who do academics are all stingy. Stingy men don't like expensive things. I was full of confidence and firmly believed that the blind date would definitely fail. Then, in the coffee shop, I saw the most handsome guy I have never seen in my 23 years of life. Although my legs were weak, I had no regrets and would never back down. I lifted my 9-meter-long skirt and introduced myself to him. "Hello, Hank. I am Joey. I just got admitted to a university. As you can see, I am a otaku." Hank was sitting by the window. The lake outside the floor-to-ceiling window was scattered with light. The pale sunlight fell on him, making his eyes as clear and transparent as colored glaze. He raised his eyelids and was very calm. "Hello. My name is Hank. Did you come from a comic convention?" I shyly shook my head. "No. I always dress like this in daily life." Hank took a sip of coffee. "Not bad. Keep it up." I continued. "I don't make money, but I use an iPhone. I often do manicures when I have nothing to do. I buy Musanking durian Nessun cherries. When I eat at McDonald's, I only order Angus burgers. Hank said, quite thrifty. Let's get along first and cultivate our relationship. If it's suitable, we can get the certificate next year. No. No? You are so stubborn? This blind date was strangely successful. Well, half successful. I can't deny that when I saw Hank's face, I was shamefully moved for a second. For this second of heartbeat, I decided to give it a try with him. When my mom heard that we were together, she was even more excited than me. Xiao Fu is great. He is a local. After Joey gets married and has a child, I can ride my little electric scooter to pick up and drop off your child. This is getting ahead of things. After school started, I'm not entirely sure what this means. Maybe at ease? I asked Hank, although we are not in the same department. Don't publicize our relationship. Okay? He thought for 2 seconds and asked, why? Do you want me to be your secret lover? I struggled for a long time. If you insist on thinking so, then it's fine. Hank didn't say anything. He drove me to the gate of the graduate school. Silently, he turned around and left. I suddenly felt a little guilty. But just a little. Not much. Because soon, I encountered an even more troublesome thing. My roommate is crazy. The graduate student dormitory of a university is a 2-person room. When I put my skincare products in the public area, I immediately heard her scream as soon as I turned around. Oh my God. Who opened my toothpaste cap? Is it you, Joey? When I put an apple in the refrigerator, I also heard her shout, oh my God, Joey. Your egg is pressing on my green vegetable. Repeatedly like this. My ears were buzzing every day. I asked the counselor, does she have persecution mania? The counselor was in a dilemma. Her mental state is really not very good. She had bipolar disorder before. But everyone is a classmate. Please be tolerant and understanding. I said, okay. But I didn't expect that this person would become even more excessive. By the second month, her behavior had escalated too, slamming the door hard late at night, splashing water on the public area floor, and yelling when I was live broadcasting. Finally, when she broke the ceramic raccoon ornament I put in the cabinet, I couldn't hold back and exploded. Are you sick? Can't you get treated before coming to school? Are others all bitches? Do they deserve to watch you go crazy every day? She looked at me. After 3 seconds of silence, she burst into tears. The incident alarmed the dorm supervisor and the counselor. My roommate's parents scolded me harshly. You too. When I was about to hold back and fight back, Hank came late. Casually, he interrupted them. The windbreaker cut a sharp angle in the air. That's about enough. He stood by my side and said, you scold our child so indiscriminately. Are you bullying her for not having parents? Why don't you reflect on yourselves? Bipolar disorder is genetic inheritance. Your child is like this today. Isn't it all because of your bad genes? My roommate's parents were about to scold again, when they saw the college emblem on his body. It was marked, Oceanography Teaching and Research Group of a University. The two left resentfully, but I didn't want to go back to the dormitory anymore. In the middle of the night, Hank accompanied me to walk downstairs of the apartment. Thinking of the ornament, I suddenly wanted to cry too. Don't tell my mom about the dormitory incident. If you tell her, she will be sad. Okay. Hank agreed. I won't tell Auntie. She also broke the thing my mom gave me. Buy another one. There is no more. When I was 8 years old, my dad cheated. In collusion with his mistress. My mom was forced to leave the house with nothing. My mom took a meager salary. She worked during the day and had to set up a stall at night. Although our family's conditions are much better than in the past few years, I can't forget those days of getting up early and staying up late. That ceramic raccoon ornament was left to me by her after she couldn't sell it all at the stall. Thinking about it more and more angrily, I gritted my teeth and wiped my tears. My mom said that she left the prettiest raccoon in that batch for me. I shouldn't have come to study this crappy graduate school. Before I finished speaking, a warm big hand suddenly held mine. He sighed. Make another one. Hank's voice was deep. He didn't know how to coax girls at all. He comforted me in a rigid way. I will accompany you. Let's go to a place that customizes ceramic dolls and make another one. But at this second, my heart beat rapidly. I looked up and met his deep gaze. The stars were so bright that night. I was possessed. In short, I just moved into Hank's single apartment. Before the school dealt with the dormitory issue, I temporarily shared an apartment with him. But when we really lived together, I found out. Not only are our living habits and schedules different, we are almost in different time zones. I have been doing this job as a live broadcaster since my undergraduate years. It is not only my source of income but also my career. So, I am very sure I will not give up this job. Hank looked at me strangely. I didn't ask you to give it up. Just change the time. But for Game Live broadcasts, everyone watches at midnight. Hank, really? I haven't watched it. I don't believe it. I found out. Hank is very stubborn, sticks to his principles, and doesn't talk much. He also doesn't listen to reason very well. Sure enough, there is a reason why he is still single at 30. I had no choice. I could only accommodate him. But later, during a website event, everyone did live broadcasts online until 12 o'clock. He still asked me to go to bed at 11. I was forced into a corner and said recklessly with red eyes, "If it really doesn't work, let's separate for a while." After saying that, there was 3 seconds of silence in the room. I was uneasy. Hank paused slightly and pushed his gold-rimmed glasses. It's not impossible to discuss. Then you can sleep after you finish your work. I seem to have found some magical communication code. So, after you finish reading a book, remember to put it back in the cabinet by category. I regretfully beat myself. What should I do? I am so stupid. I always forget. Otherwise, you punish me by not seeing you for a week. Let me remember well. I'll put it away for you. Don't order takeout at home. Even if it has no smell. It's not allowed. I meekly said, I remember. Teacher Fu. It's a pity that I can't cook. If I can't help but order takeout next time, you can kick me out of the house and punish me to finish eating outside before coming in. It's okay. I am not afraid of the cold. I like you so much. I won't leave. I'll cook for you. Good guy. I know. So you like this. Hank and I quarreled and bickered daily. In the first month of sharing an apartment, it was still relatively peaceful. In the second month, he had to go on a business trip. I helped him pack and was very curious. Are you going to sea? He said, yes. To measure seawater data. I'll bring you a big conch. Pausing, he reminded me again, I'll be gone for a month. Take care of yourself. Tomorrow, my aunt will come to bring hairy crabs. Remember to open the door for her. I said, okay. The next morning, when I woke up, Hank's bedroom was already empty. I rolled on the sofa. My boyfriend is gone. My best friend asked, I understand. When your husband is not at home, watch something exciting. Come on, sister. I just rented a new account. There are all kinds of poses in Europe and America. After she said that, she sent me the account password. I logged in and was waiting for Hank's aunt while reading articles. As my best friend said, there was everything in Europe and America. Crossing poses and species. It was astonishing. In the middle of reading, the doorbell rang. Coming. I got up in my rabbit slippers and opened the door. The moment I opened the door, I froze in place. A chill climbed from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. Hank's aunt was very young. She had fair skin, long curly hair, and a black wool and dress wrapped around her good figure. I had seen her when I was 8 years old. That year, she intimately held my dad's hand and said proudly, "The one who is not loved is the mistress. Your mom destroyed the relationship between me and your dad. She can't take away a penny of the money during marriage. So your mom is the mistress. Understand? Little kid?" 6. I let my aunt come in. She was carrying 2 bags of crabs. While tidying up the kitchen, she was chatting and smiling. "Xiaofu said you can't cook. He was afraid that you would eat takeout all month. So he asked me to bring some food over. Nowadays, kids are all spoiled." Xiaofu didn't know how to do anything before either. At home, he wasn't even allowed to wash dishes. Later, his parents got divorced and neither of them wanted him. He sat by the trash can all night and suddenly grew up. "Oh. Did I say too much?" "No." I softly interrupted. "Your name is Ivy?" "Yes." "Did Xiaofu tell you?" "Yes." "Actually, it wasn't. It was my mom. My parents made a lot of money by running a company together. When they divorced and divided the property, she hired a lawyer." I glanced at the name of a strange woman on the document. Ivy. My dad's mistress. After Ivy left that night, I couldn't sleep. I called Hank and asked him, "Did you get off the train?" He said, "Yes. I'll take pictures of the sea for you." As he said that, he sent photos. But I wasn't in the mood to look. In the 1980s, when people went into business, my parents were only one step away from freedom. But this marriage only sent my mom back to square one. In winter, a northern city was extremely cold. At that time, every time after she finished setting up her stall, the street would be empty. After dealing with the "I'm not entirely sure what this means" maybe demands or harassment from customers, she still had to comfort me. There was always a new surprise in her pocket every day. Sometimes it was a palm-sized cotton candy in the shape of a lamb. Sometimes it was a dozen biscuits in plastic paper. Sometimes it was a $2 chocolate ball. I was raised by her like this. One year, I had chilblains on my hands. She was so distressed that she secretly cried and kept saying, "I'm sorry, Joey. It's mom's fault for being useless." No. She didn't do anything wrong to me. If I was cold, wasn't she cold too? The only thing she did wrong was that she shouldn't have married my dad. She shouldn't have chosen to enter the second half of her life with the wrong person. Hank. I covered my eyes and couldn't get over this hurdle. "Yes? Let's break up." There was a short silence on the other end of the phone. The sea water slapped the reefs on the shore. The sea in the temperate zone was boundless. The white gulls circled lonely above his head. "What happened?" "Kiao kiao?" Hank said in a deep voice. "Don't be anxious. Tell me slowly." My eyes became sour. Lying on the bed, my vision became blurred. The ocean, he said, turned into a distant, deep, and unclear blue. Nothing happened. "I just want to break up with you." I started to sob. Hank heard it and was silent for a few seconds. "Listen to me first. Kiao kiao. I'll contact your counselor for you. Okay? I'll transfer some of my work to my colleagues. Book a ticket now. I can be home at noon the day after tomorrow." "No. You don't need to come back. I just don't like you anymore." I took a deep breath and tears fell from between my fingers. It was strange. I hadn't known Hank for long. This person had a strange temper. He talked little and was extremely rigid. Although he was good-looking, he had almost no expression all year round, and didn't know how to make people happy. He was not my type at all. But why was I so sad when I broke up with him? Over the years, I studied and made money by myself. Except for my mom. Only he would ask, "What's wrong? Kiao kiao." Without even asking if someone bullied me. The next sentence was always, "Wait for me. Okay? I'll be by your side right now." I cried into the pillow. Hank didn't hang up the phone. I didn't hear what he said later. Forget it. From today on, I take back all my insults to him. He is very good. He just can't belong to me. 7 the next morning. When I woke up, my eyes were swollen. My phone was also out of power and turned off. I charged it. My best friend asked, "What did you do yesterday?" "Your boyfriend called me." I was surprised. "Who?" "Hank," she said. "He found me by looking through the grade roster and asked if I was with you last night." My heart tightened. I went to check the chat records. Sure enough. Until 4 o'clock in the morning, Hank was still calling me. I didn't answer any of them. Then, I was at a loss and sad. "What did you tell him?" I said no. But generally, at this time, if Joey is not doing a live broadcast, then she must be sleeping like a log. No matter which one it is. It's impossible to find her. He said okay and didn't ask anymore. Okay. Looking at these more than 100 missed calls, I wanted to call him back. After hesitating for a moment, forget it. Calling back was useless. I got up, tidied up the room, and took away all my clothes and computer. At noon, I returned home. Mom was frying beef balls. She was quite surprised to see me. "I was still thinking of bringing food to you and Xiao Fu in the evening. Why did you come back at this time?" It took 2 hours by subway from my home to school. Not close but not far either. I ran into the kitchen and helped her. I have no classes in the afternoon. I missed Mom. So I came back. Mom saw through me at a glance and smiled. "Did you quarrel with Xiao Fu?" "Oh. Kiao Kiao. How old are you? Why do you come back to ask Mom for a hug when you quarrel with your boyfriend?" "All right. Since she said so." I put down the kitchen knife and reached out to her pitifully. "Hug." Mom smiled and hugged me. I suddenly wanted to cry again. Atai asked for leave from the counselor and stayed at home for 2 days. Hank still sent me messages on WeChat every day. He didn't pay much attention to me before. Now he does. But I wasn't happy at all. To distract myself, I lay in bed every day and cried while reading pornographic literature. When the male and female protagonists were playing in the bathroom, I thought of Hank's small professor's apartment. The water heater could only be used for 1 hour every day. But I didn't know. I soaked in the bathtub with sea salt bath balls and watched dramas every day. As a result, Hank had no hot water to use. He didn't say a word and took cold showers for a month until he caught a cold. When I found out, he said, "It's okay. It's my problem." I shed tears. When the male and female protagonists were playing in front of the dressing mirror, I thought of Hank's closet again. I had a lot of clothes and squeezed his closet so that there was no space for his suits. He spent a weekend cleaning out all the things in the storage room and made room for me to put my dresses. He sighed with a little guilt. "There will be more in the future." I asked, "What?" He said, "When I move to a new house, I'll give Kiao Kiao a big closet." I still shed tears. After crying for 3 days. Late at night, Hank, who hadn't called me for several days, suddenly called again. My mind was in a mess. My hand trembled, and I answered it subconsciously. "What's wrong, baby? What are you doing every day?" Joey. Hank's breathing was not steady. In a deep voice, he said, "After you moved out of my house, what are you doing every day now?" His voice sounded like a storm was coming. Not good. I was suddenly so scared that I didn't dare to cry anymore. Like a primary school student who did something wrong. My mind was blank. I just eat, lie down and cry. And then miss you. No. Wait. Didn't we break up? Why are you asking me this? It has nothing to do with you. I suddenly became brave. Hank. We broke up. Break up? When did I agree? Hank sneered. You watch dirty things at home behind my back. How is it dirty? No. How did he know? Who told you? My best friend betrayed me. Do you still need betrayal? Open your browsing history and see. I logged into the account and clicked on the history. Ocean dynamic equation under new salinity boundary conditions. The Sea King's charming 108 poses NP, the causes, and T. Of oceanic iceberg shaping the landform, being insulted by an iceberg quick transmogriation H. My silence was deafening. I couldn't believe it. Hank. Are you human? You stole my account? When you were at my house. You logged in with my computer. Right? He said. As soon as I logged in. A bunch of things loaded. The quantity is so large and the types are so rich. He said coldly. If I hadn't turned off the computer quickly. Now the whole research institute would think that I'm insulting my girlfriend at home day and night. Then? I was as timid as a quail. You can just log out. It didn't affect your work. You were watching at 2 in the morning. At 2 in the afternoon. And at 8 in the evening. Don't you have anything else to do except watching dirty things? I suddenly became unhappy again. He was still scolding me after breaking up. Was he human? What's wrong with me looking at textbooks? I was stubborn. I have a new boyfriend. He is not like you. You are frigid. But he is extremely difficult to coax. I learned some new knowledge for him. Do you have an opinion? After I finished speaking, Hank was silent. But I heard his breathing. A bit heavy and not very stable. I summoned up my courage. Okay. He finished taking a shower. Don't call me anymore. Don't disturb us. Kiao kiao. How many days have you known this new person? How can you? Beep beep beep. I hung up the phone. 9. Although I was confident when I hung up the phone. But I was very uneasy inside. Hank usually also teaches students. When he is serious. He is very imposing. I was like a guilty primary school student. Always ready to stand in front of him and be punished by having my palm slapped. He didn't call again. But I didn't dare to sleep either. I could only continue to read pornographic literature uneasily. At 11:30. Mom called me. Kiao kiao. Is someone knocking on the door outside? My mom has a bad leg. I quickly jumped up. Mom. Don't get out of bed. I'll take a look. Looking through the peephole. I saw a tall and familiar figure. After hesitating for a moment, I opened the door a crack. Hank? In the next second, this figure suddenly pushed the door open, picked me up and put me on his shoulder. With a chill all over his body. He rushed into the house like the wind. He strode into the bedroom and slammed the door. Holding my legs suspended in the air, he pressed me firmly against the door. I was startled. My body recognized the person before my consciousness did. Hank. He pressed me against the door. His breath was hot and dangerous. Falling on my neck. Kiao kiao. He said hoarsely. Where is that wild man? He was so close. He kissed my earlobe. I shuddered. A shock ran through my spine. Suddenly, physiological tears were forced out again. No. There is no one. Put me down. Hank's chest was as hard as a wall. His lips were on my cheek. The dangerous aura slowly moved down. No what? Haven't been watched by others. Or haven't used this pose? Darling. How can you let a man you've just known for a few days enter your bedroom? Where did you hide him? Under the bed or in the closet? I didn't. I was suspended in the air and couldn't break free. Where our skin touched. The places he kissed started to turn red. Kiao kiao. Mom heard the commotion and asked outside. What's wrong with you? Open the door. I was so panicked that I was about to cry. I'm fine. Mom. The person who knocked on the door just now was the delivery guy. I've already let him go. Hank suddenly lowered his head and bit my lower lip. Slowly grinding. Kiao kiao? Mom was worried. Open the door so I can take a look. I'm sleeping. Mom. I've taken off all my clothes. Tomorrow. I was breathing unsteadily. Annoyed and whispered. Hank. Call out. Call out louder. His palm was holding my leg. I'm not entirely sure what this means. Maybe wickedly. Whispered. Didn't you say you've taken off all your clothes? Let Auntie come in and see what we are doing. I bit my lip in shame and didn't dare to make a sound. Hank's kiss deepened. I was on tenterhooks. Every second was extremely long. Okay. After a long time, Mom finally said, "Then I'll go back to my bedroom first." Then came the sound of slippers walking away, and the door of the next bedroom closing. I let out a long breath and my whole body went limp. Collapsed in Hank's arms, lowering my head and panting. He chuckled, "Just a few kisses and you can't take it anymore? Looking at your browsing history, I thought you were very wild." Fu Heng Zai Hi. I pushed his chest hard but still couldn't push him away. Trapped between him and the door. I was like a pendant. I let out a weak and useless roar. "Put me down." Hank laughed and kissed my forehead. He didn't let go. Instead, he turned around with me in his arms and put me on the bed. "All right. Kiao kiao." He sat down by the bed. His long legs were slightly bent. In a hoarse voice, he said, "Now tell me what happened to you a few days ago." My dad has always been very cold to me. When I was very young, it was like this. When I took a test paper with a full score to find him, he would push me away. "All right. Kiao kiao. Go play somewhere else." When I asked if he could go to my parents' meeting, he always had a tired expression. "I'm very busy. Let your mom or the secretary go." I thought he was naturally not a smiling person. Until one day after school, I hid in his office with a handmade small cake I made at school, wanting to give him a surprise. But I saw him come in with Ivy in his arms and press the other person on the desk. Smiling, he kissed passionately. Panting, he said, "Don't resign. I can divorce immediately. But you can't leave. Do you understand?" I was sad and panicked. I was so scared that I knocked over the books in the cabinet. I was dragged out by my dad and slapped hard. My left ear was instantly deaf. Later, my parents divorced and divided the property. My mom left the house with nothing. My mom always thought that I didn't know the reason why she left the house with nothing. I said, "But actually, I know." The doctor told her to take me to see a doctor for my ear quickly. If we miss the golden treatment period, it won't be cured. Hank looked at me silently and reached out to gently rub my left ear. "Does it still hurt?" I shook my head. "So, Hank, I can't forgive a person who destroyed my parents' marriage. Although, even without her, my parents' marriage is not happy." Kiao kiao. Hank's pupils were very dark. The look in his eyes as he looked at me slowly became filled with struggle and pain. "But my aunt. She is also a victim." Before tonight, Hank vaguely knew that Ivy had such a past. But she never talked about it in detail. He also didn't ask much. First, he didn't know that Ivy's partner at that time was my dad. Second, there is another version of this matter. Ivy and my dad were really first loves. They were in love for many years. When they were about to get married, my dad had a one-night stand and accidentally got my mom pregnant. My grandpa's family had a long history of learning. Thinking it would be embarrassing if it got out, he simply made him marry my mom. But he never liked my mom. Later, when he became prosperous in business and met Ivy again, he couldn't resist the itch. He simply said, "Just stay with me." This staying lasted for 3 years. 3 years later, he finally divorced. But he didn't marry Ivy either. Instead, he smiled and asked her, "What's wrong? Isn't being a mistress good? I will come to see you often and give you a lot of money." Ivy finally woke up. She ended this relationship. "So, kiao kiao," Hank said in a low voice. "Can you not care about her? Don't punish yourself with other people's mistakes." How can I not care? I suddenly couldn't hold back. I covered my eyes. At that time, my mom took me and ran to all the big and small hospitals. At the train station, she couldn't even afford to order 2 bowls of beef noodles. She added hot water to the bowl I ate from and was still not entirely sure what this means. Maybe scolded or ridiculed? By the boss for being poor and having a low life. I vowed at that time. No matter what. I could do anything in the future. I will protect Mom well. I will never let her be hurt again. Now. You are telling me. I sobbed. To forgive a person who has hurt her because that person is also innocent. I looked at Hank blankly and sadly. Tears fell patter. His eyes suddenly reddened. So, there is no other way. Right. Kiao? Hank looked at me sadly. Then, can you come back and live with me? He was incoherent. His speech suddenly became a bit fast. It seemed that he was very afraid that I would interrupt him. I won't go back to a university until my project is over. I can also not go back. You can do live broadcasts in my apartment. Don't worry about curfews and strange roommates. Although my apartment is also small, it's always bigger than the dormitory. I won't disturb you. You can live there as long as you want. Hank. I softly interrupted him. The meaning of breaking up is that from now on, we have no relationship. Hank suddenly stopped. He looked at me stubbornly like a helpless child. Kiao. After a long time, he asked hoarsely. Do you like me? Like. Good. As long as you like it. He forced a bitter smile. It's okay if you just liked me once. At least we were together. Having a little happy memory is enough to last 100 years. 11 This was the last time Hank and I broke up. I never received his goodnight message again. I filled my live broadcasts and work very full. I avoided all activities of the School of Marine Biology on campus. So for a long time after that, I didn't meet him again. Before graduating from my 3rd year of graduate school, I fell in love again. My boyfriend was a Ph.D. student at the same school. His scientific research was average. But he could play basketball and was I'm not entirely sure what this means. Maybe smiling, or laughing? One day, he suddenly asked me furtively, Xiao Kiao, have you fed cats on campus? I shook my head. Aren't those cats running away when they see people? His eyes lit up. I thought so too. But a few days ago when I was jogging at night, I actually saw someone feeding them. Don't study tonight. Let's go too. I thought for a while, okay. At night, he took me on a small path. The more we walked, the more familiar it became. I was just about to frown and ask where this was. My boyfriend pulled me. Look. He is really here tonight. Looking in the direction he pointed. I casually glanced over. Suddenly froze. The man was tall and slightly bent over. The cat food was in his palm. The corner of his coat fell to the ground and was stained with dust. Under the moonlight, several kittens meowed and gathered in front of him. Let's go over and take a look. Xiao Kiao? I froze in place and couldn't take a step. Hank. This road was familiar because it was the way to the young professor's apartment. It had been almost 3 years. Why was he still living here? What's wrong? Baby? My boyfriend called me. Can't you see the road? Shall I hold your hand? I came to my senses. No. He had already firmly held my hand. The commotion alerted Hank. He put the cat food in his hand on the ground. Somewhat confused, he got up and looked back. Unexpectedly, our eyes met. The astonishment in his eyes was very short-lived. It flashed by. Then, his gaze fell on our interlocked hands. He obviously froze. My boyfriend asked, Teacher, can we feed them? Hank came to his senses and calmly shifted his gaze away. Yes. You can come. As he said that, he stepped aside. I didn't know what to do. I could only follow and squat down and pet the kittens. Hank was at a distance from me. He didn't say anything. He was silent. Like a lonely tree. Just like that. Silently and for a long time. He looked at me being with someone else. 12 After that night, my boyfriend would occasionally call me to go and feed the cats together. At first, I was a little worried. Later, I found out that I was overthinking. Because we never met Hank again. Hank seemed to be able to guess when we would go. Every night. He sprinkled a handful of cat food there to attract the cats. Then he would leave and not meet us. My boyfriend sighed. The teacher is so kind. I don't know which college he is from. School of Marine Biology. What? I said. He is from the School of Marine Biology. I lowered my eyes to look at the kitten, and muttered to myself. Such a stubborn person. Maybe he was a whale in his previous life. After that. Another for years passed. After graduating. I entered the media to work. My boyfriend stayed in the research institute. Life was plain and our relationship was stable. There was no news of Hank at all. At the age of 29. We got our marriage certificate and got married. In the 3rd year after marriage. We had a daughter. At the full moon wine for our daughter. I saw a strange face among the guests, and asked my husband, "Is he your classmate?" My husband shook his head. "I don't know. I'll go ask." In a moment. He returned. Holding a very solemn gift box. With a confused expression. He said that this is sent on behalf of a professor who has passed away. He also said something. On behalf of Hank. He conveyed a message. The gift is many years late. I hope you don't mind. I was stunned. My husband was still confused. Fu? Which Fu? Is there a teacher surnamed Fu who we are close to? My hand suddenly started to tremble, and a buzzing sound rang in my ears. Trying to stay calm, open it and take a look. He untied the bow. Inside the gift box. There was a palm-sized crystal dime and conch lying quietly. Conch. Kiao kiao. Don't cry. I'll bring you a conch. 13 Hank passed away in Qingdao a month ago. He died of overwork and heart disease. Hank is the hardest working person in the entire research institute. His students said. He doesn't have a girlfriend and doesn't fall in love. He always works desperately. At the busiest time. He can go 40 hours without eating or sleeping. I couldn't help but ask, didn't anyone persuade him? Persuaded. But it was useless. One year when he fell ill, his teacher, the old academician, specially rushed to the hospital to see him. But even he couldn't persuade him. Zach hesitated. I went to eavesdrop and heard the old academician sigh and say there was no way. This is Hank's destiny. Destiny. I was in a trance. What is his destiny? Is to be alone all his life and dedicate his short but bright life to academia and human scientific research. And then, sleep forever in the deep sea? Oh, by the way. Hank also asked me to bring a sentence to you. What? My name is Hank. I live in shut-in community, next to a university. Do you want to come and play with me? In early spring in March. The wind passes through the courtyard. The guests have all left. My husband is coaxing our daughter to sleep. White pear blossoms cover the courtyard. I don't understand. What does this mean? Zach said. I don't know either. It was already late at night. I thanks Akin asked the driver to help send him away. Back home. My husband asked, do you remember who this professor is? The gift he sent is so expensive. Those diamonds are not only expensive in themselves. Moreover, they are handmade. I nodded. Do you remember that year? The one who helped us feed the cats downstairs? It's him? My husband was surprised. He is so kind. How could he pass away so young? What a pity. God. Kiao kiao. Let's go and pay our respects to him on Autumn Sweeping Day next year. I was a little surprised. Okay. He sent us such an expensive gift. Reward him by letting him see our precious daughter. My husband gently patted our sleeping daughter and was a little regretful. However, it's a pity. He is only 40 years old, and doesn't have a child. Child? What would Hank's child be like? Would he have the same poker face as him? He can afford diamonds now. When he has a child, he should have a bathroom with continuous hot water and a big closet. Right? I smiled. Smiling and smiling. I suddenly covered my eyes. Tears streamed down my face. Extra chapter. When Joey was 8 years old, her mom took her to the hospital to see her ear. This was already the 4th hospital. The doctor said it couldn't be cured. When Joey heard this answer, she was a little disappointed. But not as disappointed as at the beginning. Thinking on the bright side. At least her right ear could still hear. Having one ear that could work was okay. Mom went to pay the bill. She sat on the bench with her head down. The heads of her little bare cotton shoes touched each other. 2 nurses pushed a cart past and discussed in low voices. It's that kid just now. He has severe depression. None of his family knows. His parents got divorced and neither of them took him. So he just stayed where he was and waited. When he was found, it had been half a month. He was eating the cotton from the sofa cushions at home. Ah? Didn't they say he was very good at studying? He was the first in the city in the joint entrance exam. Isn't there anyone who wants him? That's why. Joey raised her head and looked over. At the other end of the bench, there was a silent boy, separated by a very tall potted plant in the middle. She only saw a shadow. She called, "Hey." The person didn't move. "My name is Joey. What's your name?" He didn't move. Joey didn't mind. She chattered on by herself. "Do you like mountains or the sea?" "I especially like the sea. If there is a next life. I want to be a fish." "Don't be too big. Big fish are silly. Be a smaller fish." "I can eat very little." "Stay with mom. When in danger, hide." "Why don't you talk? You must also want to be a fish. But you are embarrassed to say it." Joey talked for half an hour by herself. Tired of talking, she sighed. "I heard that everyone was a fish in their previous life. Can I also be a fish in my next life? I don't want to be a human anymore. Being a human is so tiring." From afar, she saw Mom walking over. Joey jumped off the bench. "I'm leaving. Goodbye." The boy suddenly raised his head and said the first sentence in 3 months. "My name is Hank. I live in shut-in community next to a university. Do you want to come and play with me?" A gentle breeze blew past her left ear. Joey didn't hear clearly. She looked back and asked, "What did you say?" He pursed his lips and looked away, refusing to repeat it a second time. If Hank were still alive, maybe he would also think, in this life, how could he be so wrong? Being a human is so hard. Joey. Hank. Don't be humans in the next life. Go to the water. Go to the 90,000-foot deep sea. Go against the ocean current and degenerate into a fish. Meet again.